What's up YouTube, Robert here from Duelist Revolution, and today I'll be providing a commentary for this feature match that we've recorded. It's Thijs on the left is playing his Bujin deck, while Chris on the right is testing his new Burning Abyss deck. It's not like the other Burning Abyss decks you might have seen on YCS and larger events. He's trying some new Chaos variant with Lightsworns in it and stuff. And yeah, Thijs has been playing Bujins for quite some while now, so he's quite familiar with the deck. And well, it should be interesting. Chris decides to start, opening a supply squad and one back row. It doesn't seem like he has a very good hand. Like, Burning Abyss only needs one card to really start their plays. A Tour Guide can be good, a Skarm can be good, anything that searches, but yeah, you still need to draw him. So Thijs activates a tanky, searches a bear, and Chris immediately warnings the bear. I think Thijs did this because, yeah, he decides to plus extra. I mean, if the attack of the bear went through, he immediately got another tanky, which can get him into the Yamato he needs. So that's why he got the bear instead of the Yamato. He sets 2 to his back row and ends his turn. Chris draws a card, sets another back row, ends his turn as well. Then Thijs summons Bujin the Quillin and attacks directly for 1600 damage. And he decides to set another back row and ends his turn. Chris finally draws his Tour Guide that he needs to kickstart his plays. At this point, I think Thijs is deciding whether to activate his Forbidden Chalice or his Warning. The smart thing to do here is the Warning, like he does. If he did the Chalice, and the case would be that Chris has a land, the Tour Guide would still go through and he would still get his Burning Abyss plays. So Warning just gets rid of it immediately. Thijs just drew in another Chalice, summons a Bujin Crane and attacks with both, dropping Chris down to 1200 life points. And Thijs just overlays to Bujin's Susanoo, not fearing because he has a lance and the Warning has already been used. But unfortunately for him, Chris has a Divine Wrath, which is also spell speed 3, so he can change Forbidden Lands to it, so that just got rid of the Susanoo. Thijs sets another back row and ends. At this point, Chris is using his monster reincarnation to desperately trying to get his Tour Guide back, because he needs to kickstart his plays in order to do something. Summons his Tour Guide, activates the effect, and of course Thijs responds with the Forbidden Chalice. Then Chris swings by with his Tour Guide for 1400 damage, boosted by the Chalice, and ends his turn. Thijs summons Bujin Mikazuchi, finally drew a Beast Warrior, so he can now use the effect of the Killen. He pops the Tour Guide and attacks directly for 2000 damage, which is immediately enough to provide him game. So yeah, that's a quick first game. It's mainly because Chris couldn't get any of his Burning Abyss monsters or the effect of the Tour Guide, so yeah, that means basically Burning Abyss has a hard time. Now going into game 2, Chris decides to start, opening with a charge of Light Brigade with some pretty terrible mills. I think it was at least hoping to get like one Burning Abyss out of it, but searches out the Lila. So yeah, of course milling is always a bit sacky, but it can be so good when you mill the right cards, and that's just what he's thinking with it. Just try and go for the Lila, mill some more in the end phase. Placing 3 back row, and in the end phase mills a Skarm, a Eclipse Ribbon, and another Burning Abyss monster, so this is really good. All the effects trigger. You can search out the Tour Guide for the Skarm and use the Eclipse Ribbon to search out a Dark Arm Dragon. So that, as bad as the mills were earlier, these are pretty damn good. So that's a solid opening. Thijs doesn't have a Bujin Beast Warrior on his hand, but he still has a monster, so he summons the Hare. And Chris is flipping through his back row. The summon is okay. Thijs attacks directly and drops a Chalice in the damage step, so Chris can't respond to it. I think Thijs really wanted to get over the Lila because he can place 3 back row and he doesn't want to lose it like for free against the Lila. Chris blinds MSTs against Thijs' Bottomless. I don't know why he blind MSTs. I personally would not have done that because, as you can see now, Thijs flips his Shadow Imprisoning Mirror, and yeah, it would have been better to like hold on to the MST for a Soul Drain or a Shadow Imprisoning Mirror like it's happening now, but that's just player preference, I guess. Chris now summons the Black Dragon Collapse Serpent, banishing the Eclipse Griffin so he can search his dad back. The Black Dragon is strong enough to get over the hair, and it doesn't get negated by a Shadow Imprisoning Mirror. Well, at least the summon doesn't, because it's a summon conditioning, not an effect. The dragon attacks over the hair, and now Tour Guide and White Dragon can attack directly, dropping Thijs down to 5200 life points. So Thijs is just reading the cards, or asking how they work. And of course, when the Black Dragon gets destroyed, it doesn't get its effect, because Shadow Imprisoning Mirror is active on the field. Thijs draws into a Bujin Kilin. It's not really what he was hoping for, but it's still body. He's checking Chris's graveyard to see how many darks he's got for the Dark Armed Dragon. Summons Bujin Kilin. The summon, Chris decides if the summon is okay. Would appear the summon is okay, and Thijs attacks Chris's Tour Guide, dealing him 600 points of damage. Chris draws a card and attacks over the Bujin Kilin with his Black Dragon Collapse Serpent, and attacks directly again with the White Dragon, dropping Thijs down to 3200 life points. So Thijs has to get a pretty good top deck to get out of this situation, and he drew into a Kaiser Colosseum, which is pretty bad at this time, so he decides to scoop. Not a fairly quick game. Looks like we're heading game 3. I think Bujin needs to set up a lot before they can actually maintain field and control, but when it does, it's really good. But Burning Abyss is just really fast, and plus it's a lot easier than Bujin does. So yeah, it should be interesting. Chris opens up with another charge, milling another Scarm. So that's pretty good. He can search the effect of the search a Tour Guide in the end phase. I think Thijs is asking if the effects actually activate, but Burning Abyss effects always activate, no matter how they are sent to the graveyard. It doesn't matter if it's a cost or not, as since charge is a cost to mill 3 cards, not part of the effect. So the effect triggers to summon the Scarm in defense mode. Chris is now activating a Supply Squad and summoning a Lila, which will trigger the effect of Scarm destroying itself, because there's another monster on the field that's not a Burning Abyss monster, so he gets to draw a card with his Supply Squad. And again, the Scarm effect triggers in the end phase, so he can search for a Tour Guide. So I'd say this opening really shows what kind of potential Burning Abyss has if they get the right cards. They only need like 1 good mill or 1 Scarm, and they kickstart their plays. It's really insane. He needs to mill another 3 cards for the end phase, milling 2 of his Tour Guides, so that's not too great. He only has 1 final Tour Guide left in his hand. Thijs started with a Pot of Duality, hoping to get that Bujin Beast Warrior that he needs. Doesn't seem like it. Revealing a Kaiser Colosseum, a Solemn Warning, and another Forbidden Chalice. He's deciding between the Chalice, which will keep his Kaiser Colosseum in the game if Chris decides to activate the effect of Lila. But he has no other protection, so I think he's deciding between the Warning or the Chalice. And he picks the Warning. I personally would have picked Chalice at this point, because, yeah, the Kaiser Colosseum is the only weapon you've got, and Warning isn't going to do much now anyways. He summons a Bujin Hair and tries to suicide it into the Lila, but Chris changes with responds with an Phoenix Wing Blast, top decking the hair, which is pretty bad for Thijs at this point because this means he will lose another draw, not drawing a Yamato or a Mikazuchi. Chris gets the effect of his Burning Abyss monster and gets to special summon a Skarm from the deck, which will destroy itself because there's another Burning Abyss monster on the field, and he gets to draw a card with Supply Squad, so that's the Phoenix Wing Blast was like for free at this point. And that's how insane Burning Abyss can be. In the end phase, Chris gets the effect of the Skarm, searching out another Burning Abyss monster, since he is all out of tour guides. Chris draws a card, it's another Phoenix Wing Blast. Summons tour guide. Searching through his deck for another Burning Abyss monster. At this point, Chris is in such a huge advantage here. He has still has 4 cards on hand, a back row, and 3 monsters on board, where Thijs hasn't even gotten the chance to start his plays. No, he's not seen a single Bujin Beast Warrior, and he's about to top deck another hair. So at this point, he's in a very bad position. Chris is deciding whether to exceed first or attack first, depending on how much damage he can deal. Decides to attack first with the tour guide and the Burning Abyss monster doing 2000 points of damage, and the Lila swinging by for another 1700, so dropping Thijs back to 4300 life points. And in Mayface trade decides to exceed for Equipped Engineer, which lets him protect his Lila if he wants to protect another bird or just itself, and sets another back row. In the end phase he has to mill 3, not great mills, but then again he's almost used all of his Burning Abyss effect anyway. Thijs draws into the Bujin hair, what a surprise. At this point there's nothing he can do but just bait out the effect of the Equipped Engineer or the back row that Chris has placed. He summons Bujin Mikazuchi, oh there's his Beast Warrior, and attacks over Lila, but then Chris responds with the effect of Equipped Engineer, switching his Lila to defense mode, and for the rest of the turn it cannot be destroyed by battle or card effects. Thijs decides to activate his Kaiser Colosseum anyway, sets 2 back row, and in the end phase Chris blindly MSTs the warning, which is pretty good for blind MST. You can see Thijs not liking that. And Chris also decides to use another Phoenix Wing Blast in the end phase to top deck the Mikazuchi. So yeah, this is pretty bad for Thijs and he knows it already, so he scoops up his card. Well, that was a pretty fast game, but thanks for watching and remember to like and subscribe for more.